I heard a voice coming from my baby's room at 2:30 a.m. A deep, unmistakably adult voice, whispering. Clear, calm, too close to his crib. And my baby was asleep. Let me make this clear from the start. We live completely alone. No visitors, no family staying over. No one who could have been in that room at that hour. If you think I'm exaggerating, don't. What I'm about to tell you happened exactly as I'm describing it. And trust me, you'll want to subscribe to the channel before we dive deeper, because this experience didn't end that night. It kept escalating until it ruined everything we thought we knew about our son. My name is Ethan Walker. My wife, Hannah, and I had moved into an old 1800s farmhouse in northern Maine. We wanted quiet, safety, space for our newborn son, Oliver. But the house had its own history. We just didn't know how dark that history was. It began subtly. Things you'd brush off as exhaustion. Oliver staring at the same corner of his room, smiling. The baby monitor losing connection only in his room. A faint sound at night, footsteps. Maybe. Or just the shifting bones of an old house. But the second week after moving in, the whispers began. That first night, when I heard the voice, my heart hammered so hard it made me nauseous. I froze outside Oliver's door, my hand hovering over the doorknob, because I knew instinctively that whatever was inside wasn't supposed to be there. Panic hit me with full force. I grabbed the closest thing to a weapon, a brass lamp hand, kicked open the door. The room was silent. No footsteps, no shadow ducking behind furniture, no sign of forced entry. But the baby monitor light, normally a soft blue glow, was bright red, like it was recording or detecting motion. Oliver slept peacefully, his tiny chest rising and falling. I checked the window. Locked. Checked the closet. Empty. Checked under the crib. Nothing. I even replayed the last 30 seconds on the monitor. Static. A low hum. Then complete silence. I told myself it was interference. Exhaustion, stress. I told myself anything that would help me sleep. But as I walked out of the room, Oliver stirred Hoos slightly and let out the softest giggle. At nothing. At the corner he always stared at. That was night 1, and it was only the beginning. Night 2 changed everything. At 1:58 a.m., I heard it again. Not a whisper this time. A laugh. But not my baby's. Not Hannah's. Not mine. It was the laugh of a grown man, trying to suppress amusement, like someone telling a private joke in the dark. My legs went numb. I stood frozen in the hallway outside Oliver's room. Then the laughter stopped abruptly. Silent. Cut short, almost as if the person realized I was listening. For 10 seconds, I heard nothing. Then something far worse. Breathing. Slow. Measured. Deep. Not Oliver's soft infant breathing. This was a man's breath, low, rumbling exhales, coated in cold patience. I wanted to scream for Hannah, but something held me still. A cold pressure on my spine, a feeling that if I spoke, something would answer. I pulled up the baby monitor on my phone. Buffering. Buffering. Connection lost. Only for his room. My hands trembled violently. I leaned in closer, pressing my ear to the door. Then I heard it, a whisper so soft, I almost questioned if it was real. He can see me. The words slithered through the wood of the door. I slammed it open. The room was empty, but the air felt charged thick, like someone had been standing right beside the crib a second before I entered. Oliver was awake this time, and he was sitting up. A 3-month-old can't sit up unassisted, but there he was, sitting perfectly upright, perfectly balanced, looking over my shoulder. Not at me. Past me. Toward that same corner, toward the shadow that looked just for an instant darker than the rest of the room. I felt a chill run down my back. Oliver, I whispered. What are you looking at? He giggled, reached his hand toward the corner. And then his eyes shifted behind me, as if something moved. I whipped around. Nothing, but the smell in the room changed. Like old earth, like something that had been buried, disturbed, and pulled too close to the surface. That was night 2. I didn't sleep at all. On night 3, things escalated. At 2:04 a.m., the baby monitor at my bedside lit up by itself. Not the screen, the audio function. Static hissed through the speaker. Then came the breathing again. Slow. Deep. Deep. Calm. I sat up in bed. Every muscle frozen? Hannah stirred. Ethan? What's wrong? Before I could answer, the voice spoke through the monitor. He knows me. Hannah bolted upright. What was that? Who's in his room? I didn't answer, because the voice returned, clearer now. He remembers. I grabbed the monitor, sprinted to the room, and threw the door open. Silence. Stillness. Darkness. Oliver was asleep, but his face was turned toward the corner again. Toward him, I checked the monitor playback. What I found made my blood freeze. The voice wasn't an interference. It wasn't an audio glitch. It was human. Direct. Deliberate. Deliberate. La 1:54. I'm static 155. Faint shuffling 156. I whisper 157. 2 faint footsteps 158. The laugh 159. He knows me. I dropped the monitor. I couldn't breathe. We called the police the next morning. They found no signs of break-in. No footprints, no fingerprints, no damage. But they did find something odd. The floorboards under the crib were slightly loose. We can check under it, the officer said. Sometimes old houses shift. We agreed. He pried the first board up and froze. There were scratch marks underneath, old ones. Deep ones, like fingernails clawing upward from the other side of the floor. Hannah burst into tears. The officer looked disturbed. I don't know what could have caused that. But I knew, or at least, I was beginning to understand. Something wasn't trying to get into the room. Something was trying to get out, and it wanted my son. Before the officer left, he asked, "Do you want us to stay tonight? Just in case." Hannah said yes. I said no. Because deep down, I knew the truth. Whatever was happening wasn't physical. It wasn't human, and it didn't care about police officers. Before leaving, the officer said quietly, "Keep a camera running tonight, and don't stay too close to the crib." I wish we had listened. That night, I set up 2 cameras in the room, one pointing at the crib, the other at the infamous corner. I stayed awake, sitting in the hallway, watching the live feed on my phone. At 2:11 a.m., the camera pointed at the corner flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. A shape appeared, faint at first, a dark distortion, like heat waves rising in a mirage. Then it solidified, a tall, thin silhouette, shoulders slumped forward, head tilted in a distorted angle, as if the neck wasn't attached properly. It didn't move. It didn't step forward. It simply existed in that corner, gazing silently toward the crib. I wanted to run in and grab Oliver, but fear held me prisoner. The figure leaned slightly to the right. The camera crackled. Static crawled across the screen. Then the monitor at my side lit up, and I heard it again, that same deep whisper, except this time it was angry. "You're watching." The shadow's head snapped toward the camera, and the feed went pitch black. I jumped to my feet, heart exploding in my chest. I ran into the room. The corner was empty, but the crib, The crib was rocking, not violently, calmly, rhythmically, as if a pair of invisible hands were soothing my child. I grabbed Oliver, holding him tight against my chest. The rocking stopped instantly, not slowly, not gradually, instantly, like someone had been touching the crib and let go the second I entered. A cold chill wrapped itself around my neck, and then a whisper right behind me. Close enough to feel the breath. "He's mine." I spun around, but saw nothing. Nothing except the camera on the dresser, slowly turning on its own, tilting until it pointed directly at me. The lens focused, zoomed in, and then clicked like it had taken a picture. I ran. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. The next morning, I contacted the previous owner of the house. She sounded hesitant to talk, but eventually said, "I told the realtor to disclose everything." "He didn't tell you?" My stomach twisted. "Tell me what?" She sighed. "You're not the first family to hear the man in the nursery." My blood ran cold. "Who?" I whispered. There was a long pause. Then, Said. "The house belonged to a man named Silas Thorne. In 1894, he lost his infant son. After the death, neighbors heard him talking in the nursery every night, saying the baby was still there, saying the baby remembered him." My heart cracked open. "Silas, eventually, lost his mind," she continued. "He locked himself in the nursery. People in town say he starved to death, refusing to leave." I swallowed hard. "And the baby?" "No one ever found the baby's body." I nearly dropped the phone. "And the claw marks under the floorboards?" I asked. She inhaled sharply. "You found them?" "Yes." Another pause. "We found the same ones," she said quietly, "and that's why we moved." I felt dizzy. But why? Why does he go after babies? Her voice trembled. "Because he thinks every baby is his dead son, and he wants the child back." The phone slipped from my hand. When I picked it up again, she added one last thing. "If he's attached to your child, you need to get out." Immediately. But it was too late. Silas had already chosen my son, and he wasn't planning to let go. The final night is burned into me forever. I woke up at 2:16 a.m. to the sound of the crib sliding across the wooden floor. Not rocking, not tapping. Sliding. Being pulled. I sprinted down the hallway, nearly slipping on the floor. When I reached the doorway, I froze in pure horror. The crib was halfway across the room. Oliver was floating 6 inches above the mattress, held by invisible hands. His tiny face glowed with a peaceful smile, like he recognized the thing holding him. The air in the room was freezing. My breath came out in white clouds, and then I saw him, Silas. Fully visible now. A gaunt, gray figure with hollow eyes and a twisted neck, standing behind the crib like a proud father. His voice echoed through the room. "He remembers me. He always remembers me," I shouted. "Let him go." Silas looked at me with empty, bottomless eyes. "He is mine." Oliver drifted closer to him like he was being offered, handed back to a parent he'd had in another life. I stepped forward, and a freezing wind slammed me into the wall. I could hear Hannah screaming somewhere behind me. I clawed at the floor, dragging myself toward the crib. Silas extended his hand toward Oliver, and for a moment, Oliver reached back. My heart shattered. I didn't think. I acted. I lunged forward, grabbed Oliver's arm, and screamed. "He's not your son!" A sound erupted from Silas's throat, a roar of pure grief and fury. The room exploded with force. The windows shattered. The lights burst. The cameras melted like plastic in fire. Silas lunged at me, but as soon as I pulled Oliver tight to my chest, his body flickered. Once, twice, then violently like static, breaking apart. His scream distorted, echoing through the walls. He was mine, and then he vanished. The cold lifted. The air stilled. The room fell silent. Oliver cried for the first time in days, a real cry. A baby's cry. Not the eerie silence he'd had all week. We left the house that night. We never went back. 3 days later, the house caught fire and burned to the ground. No one ever discovered the cause, but sometimes when the baby monitor's on and the house is quiet, I swear I still hear a faint whisper. Until next time, and if you want to hear what happened after we escaped,